Building a legendary career takes years of brilliant albums, sold-out tours, and maintaining credibility through changing trends. Destroying that legacy can happen in 40 minutes. These aren't bands that faded gradually or lost relevance over time. These are groups at the peak of their powers who released one catastrophic album that shattered everything they'd built.
Every day I look at the world from my window.
Critical respect vanished. Fans abandoned them in droves. Commercial success evaporated. Some recovered after years in the wilderness. Others never came back. Here are 10 legendary bands that lost everything in one album, proving that even the greatest can fall spectacularly when they make the wrong artistic choices at the wrong moment. 10. The Beach Boys, Summer in Paradise, 1992. The Beach Boys defined California, created some of pop music's most sophisticated arrangements, and influenced everyone from the Beatles to countless harmony groups worldwide. Brian Wilson's genius had given the world pet sounds and good vibrations. Their legacy seemed untouchable regardless of later commercial struggles. Then 1992 arrived with Summer in Paradise. An album so catastrophically bad, it still stands as possibly the worst record ever released by a major artist. Brian Wilson was absent. Carl Wilson had left the group. The creative core that made the Beach Boys matter had completely dissolved, leaving Mike Love and Bruce Johnston leading a touring nostalgia act into the recording studio. The production used cheap digital backing tracks that sounded like karaoke versions of beach music. Real instruments were replaced by synthetic sounds that belonged in a shopping mall, not on a Beach Boys record. Songs like Hot Fun in the Summertime sounded like nursing home entertainment. Elderly men trying to recapture youth they'd lost decades earlier. Critics savaged it mercilessly, with some calling it the worst album ever made by a legendary group. Sales were so dismal the record label actually deleted it from their catalog, pretending it never existed. The band that defined the California sound had reduced themselves to complete embarrassment, and this album destroyed whatever dignity remained from their glory years. 9. Chicago. Chicago 14, 1980. Chicago built their reputation on jazz rock fusion that actually worked commercially. Horn sections coexisting with guitar solos, and complex arrangements that displayed serious musicianship. Terry Kath's guitar work gave them rock credibility while the horns maintained sophistication. They were a legitimate band with legitimate chops, selling millions of albums throughout the 70s. Then Kath accidentally killed himself in 1978, and everything that made Chicago special died with him. Chicago 14th arrived in 1980 as the first album showing what the band would become without their creative anchor. The jazz elements disappeared almost entirely, replaced by pure ballad schmaltz designed for adult contemporary radio. This album established the template that Hard to Say I'm Sorry would later perfect, transforming Chicago from musicians into a product designed for maximum commercial appeal with minimum artistic ambition. Critical respect evaporated overnight. Music journalists who had grudgingly admired their earlier fusion work now dismissed them as sellouts chasing trends. The album didn't destroy them commercially, which somehow made it worse. It proved they could succeed financially while killing everything that made them matter artistically. Chicago never recovered serious musician status after crossing this line. 8. Santana. Beyond Appearances, 1985. Carlos Santana's guitar work had defined Latin rock, blending Afro-Cuban rhythms with blues and rock in ways nobody had achieved before. Abraxas and Santana III showcased a band operating at the highest level, creating music that was simultaneously spiritual and deeply funky. Even through commercial ups and downs, Santana maintained artistic credibility. Then the mid-80s happened. And Carlos made decisions that buried everything he'd built. Beyond Appearances followed the disaster of Havana Moon, and somehow got even worse. The album chased MTV trends with desperate transparency, abandoning Latin rock foundations completely. Synthesizers replaced congas and percussion, the very elements that made Santana's sound unique. Carlos's guitar got buried under layers of 80s production that sounded dated the moment the album was released. This began a decade-long commercial and critical wilderness that didn't end until Supernatural in 1999. Carlos spent the late 80s playing small venues, his legendary status reduced to remember when conversations. One album didn't just fail, it erased his relevance for over a decade. 7. The Kinks, Schoolboys in Disgrace, 1975. The Kinks wrote some of rock's most perfect pop songs. Ray Davies proving himself one of the era's sharpest songwriters with observations about British life that were both specific and universal. You Really Got Me influenced everyone. While later masterpieces like Waterloo Sunset showed artistic growth beyond simple rock. They possessed credibility and a devoted fan base that appreciated Davies' theatrical approach to storytelling. Then that theatrical instinct went too far. Schoolboys in Disgrace arrived as yet another concept album.
School days were such happy days.
This time about boarding school characters nobody cared about. Davies was following the theatrical rock opera trend years after it peaked, creating elaborate narratives that alienated the existing fan base completely. The songs served the concept rather than standing alone, making the album feel like homework instead of entertainment. Sales collapsed after years of steady decline. The American touring band from the 60s still haunted them, limiting their ability to build audiences in the world's biggest market. This album finished what the band started, ending their commercial relevance permanently. Later albums showed flashes of quality, but they never regained what Schoolboys in Disgrace destroyed. 6. Styx, Kilroy Was Here, 1983. Styx dominated arenas throughout the late 70s with a blend of hard rock and progressive elements that somehow achieved massive commercial success. The Grand Illusion and Paradise Theater sold millions, proving they could balance artistic ambition with radio-friendly hooks. Dennis DeYoung's keyboards and theatrical vocals defined their sound, and fans accepted the bombast as part of the package. Then DeYoung's vision exceeded what anyone could tolerate. Kilroy Was Here was a rock opera about censorship and robots in a dystopian future, a concept so pretentious it became an immediate punchline.
You're wondering who I am. Secret, secret, I got a secret.
The accompanying short film and elaborate stage show drowned whatever musical merit existed under layers of absurdity. Mr. Roboto killed their credibility with ridiculously processed vocals and lyrics about being a modern man, sounding like a parody of everything wrong with 80s excess. The band broke up shortly after the tour, internal tensions making continuation impossible. Kilroy Was Here represented everything critics mocked about 70s arena rock, the self-importance and lack of self-awareness reaching critical mass. One album transformed them from hitmakers into cautionary tales about excess destroying common sense. 5. Van Halen, Van Halen 3, 1998. Van Halen revolutionized hard rock with Eddie Van Halen's finger-tapping and David Lee Roth's charismatic showmanship. Even after Roth's departure, Sammy Hagar maintained commercial dominance through the late 80s. They were one of rock's biggest bands, seemingly immune to the trends that killed their peers. Then Hagar left, Gary Cherone arrived, and everything fell apart in spectacular fashion. Van Halen III marked the third singer crisis.
Then you say I won't. Well, I'm just trying.
And this time, the music itself collapsed under the weight of bad decisions. Eddie's experimental phase produced songs without memorable hooks or the energy that defined their sound. The album was dark and depressing, exploring themes nobody wanted from Van Halen. Without You sounded nothing like the band's DNA, slow and plodding where they'd always been explosive. The band's commercial dominance ended permanently with this release. Later reunions with Roth achieved success, but they never regained their position as rock's dominant force. One album with the wrong singer and wrong songs destroyed 2 decades of marketplace supremacy, proving even genius has limits when applied incorrectly. 4. Mötley Crüe, Generation Swine, 1997. Mötley Crüe defined 80s glam metal with outrageous behavior and massive hooks. Dr. Feelgood proved they could evolve beyond their early sloppiness into a tight, professional unit capable of arena domination. Then grunge killed hair metal, and the Crüe faced choices about how to survive changing trends. Every decision they made was catastrophically wrong. Vince Neil got fired. John Corabi got hired, then fired. Neil returned, but the reunion album abandoned everything that made them successful. Generation Swine incorporated alternative rock influences that absolutely nobody wanted from Mötley Crüe. Electronic elements and industrial sounds replaced glam metal's party anthems, the band trying desperately to sound contemporary and achieving only embarrassment. Elektra Records dropped them after this disaster, ending their major label relationship. Generation Swine documented glam metal's death in real time, showing what happens when bands abandon their identity chasing trends they don't understand. Mötley Crüe continued, but this album destroyed their credibility as anything beyond a nostalgia act, trading on past glories. 3. Yes, Union, 1991. Yes pioneered progressive rock with complex compositions that redefined technical achievement in popular music. Albums like Close to the Edge showcased ambition meeting ability perfectly. Multiple lineup changes tested them, but creative vision maintained their identity. Then Arista Records forced a merger that destroyed everything for profit. Two rival Yes lineups existed by 1991. Anderson Bruford Wakeman Howe versus Squire Rabin K, both claiming legitimate legacy connections. The label forced them together for Union, creating predictable disaster. Members refused studio contact, recording separately while 8 producers attempted salvaging the wreckage. The result sounded like different bands edited together with zero cohesion. Progressive rock demands artistic integrity above commercial concerns. Union proved Yes abandoned those principles completely, prostituting their name for record label money. The reunion nobody wanted destroyed decades of respect, showing even progressive pioneers could be corrupted. 2. Journey, raised on radio, 1986. Journey dominated the early 80s with Steve Perry's vocals and Neil Sean's guitar creating arena rock perfection. Don't Stop Believin' became a generational anthem while Faithfully proved ballad mastery without losing edge. They sold out stadiums worldwide and owned radio airwaves. Then Perry's ego destroyed the chemistry, making everything work. Perry fired the entire band except Sean, replacing Journey's classic lineup with session musicians lacking investment in their legacy. Overproduced 80s sound buried rock foundations under synthetic sheen designed for maximum radio appeal. Be Good to Yourself sounded like solo Perry with hired backing, which it essentially was. Commercial success made the artistic death sadder. Perry proved Journey could sell records without being Journey, but that success killed the band for a decade. One album documented ego-murdering chemistry. 1. Fleetwood Mac, Tusk, 1979. Rumors sold 40 million copies worldwide, making Fleetwood Mac untouchable at their commercial and critical peak. Unlimited budget and label support gave them complete freedom. Lindsey Buckingham wanted experimental art rock challenging listeners. Instead, he challenged their commercial dominance and lost catastrophically. Tusk cost $1.4 million, the most expensive album ever made.
Why don't you tell me who's on the phone?
Buckingham's experimental instincts alienated everyone who loved Rumors. The title track's USC marching band confused radio and fans alike. Stevie Nicks and Christine McVie's accessible material got buried under Buckingham's weird, double-length format, making digestion harder. They never recovered cultural dominance. Later albums sold respectably, but never approached Rumors' success. Creative freedom killed commercial appeal. One album ended their reign permanently. Legendary status offers zero protection from catastrophic failure. One album can erase decades of credibility. Fans forgive mistakes, but never forgive identity betrayal. Success takes years to build, seconds to destroy completely.